Hey everyone, in this episode we're taking a look at the movie Pokemon Detective Pikachu. We're going to explore all the Pokemon cameos and see if our expectations were met with the movie. This is episode 143 of the Reel-ists Podcast. Hey everyone, welcome to this episode. My name is Oscar.
I'm Donnie.
And we have our producer Ruben here as well. He says hello. And welcome to this review of Pokemon Detective Pikachu. I think the official title is Pokemon, so you can't just say Detective Pikachu.
Oh, okay.
Then you're just shortening the title. But
then you're disrespecting the franchise altogether.
So this is the newest movie, the first movie to try to take down Avengers Endgame at the box office. It did not, sadly, but it was close. It was like a good 5 million short. So, dang.
Almost. It was right there.
Almost there. Where are you, Pokemon fans? Maybe if it came out a week
later. Maybe if it came out a week later, it would have done it.
Where are you, Pokemon fans? Y'all playing Pokemon Go?
Right. We need the support at the box office.
I mean, not that we're trying to take down Avengers, but it was like a close race. At this point, how can you not root for Pikachu? He's been there since what? When did the 90s?
Wasn't it? Yeah,
like in the 90s?
99, I want to say. I don't know.
Something like that. But yeah, so that's going to be a review for today. If this is your first time listening to us, welcome. We hope you enjoy this episode and you want to decide to listen to us and all the past episodes we've covered on all the movies. If you're a returning listener, we appreciate your listen once again. And we hope this is another satisfying episode. It's all we can really want from everyone, just to be satisfied.
Well said.
Right? Perfect. So, all right, Donnie, let's switch it up a little bit. Instead of just your quick thoughts on the movie, I want you to give me 4 words that describe your emotions about this movie. So the 4 best emotions.
Okay.
Or adjectives, I guess.
4 adjectives to describe my emotions of how I was feeling watching this movie.
Yes.
I would say...
Do it for a curveball. He's not ready. I'm a star as he thinks a little bit.
No, I'm trying to find the word. I don't know what it's called, but like I guess it's.
You can describe it. That's fine.
I guess it's like just nostalgic.
Okay.
Is one of them.
Yeah.
Invested.
Okay. Wow.
I would say optimistic.
Okay.
And I was emotional on some of the scenes. So, yeah, I'd say those 4 words.
We'll have you elaborate in just shortly.
Nostalgic.
Right.
Invested, optimistic, and emotional.
Okay. All right, so...
Sounds like I was watching like a freaking love story or something.
But that was Pokemon Detective Pikachu. So, in case anyone is unaware of this movie, it is in a world where Pokemon exist and people collect Pokemon to do battle. A boy comes across an intelligent talking Pikachu who seeks to be a detective. This movie does star Ryan Reynolds as the voice of Pikachu with Justice Smith as well as playing the main character and is directed by Rob Letterman. So nice. That's our small cast. And there's some supporting characters there that we can talk about as we go on. So with one of your 4 words here, let's talk about why you felt nostalgic. I think that's probably the biggest thing most people went to go see this movie is either the flashbacks to them playing Pokemon or they're currently playing Pokemon Go.
Absolutely.
I think that Pokemon Go really did help in this case, just to be able to have that in people's head already. Mm-hmm. I think it would have been a different kind of feel if Pokemon really didn't have any games outside of the standard.
it would have been a lot of our age audience attending the film, and because Pokemon Go did blow up the way it did and had all the little kids being introduced to Pokemon for the first time, then
because there was always the video games.
Yeah, so. then they were able to be excited for the film. So I think definitely Pokemon Go definitely helped the film to be as. I mean, I know it just came out, but to be a success, I think it's pretty. So far it's pretty good, and I think it'll continue to.
So, I mean, how did you feel like when you were watching it? Why did you say nostalgic then? Let's have you elaborate on that.
I just remember when I first started watching Pokemon and collecting all the cards and playing the games. Like, so it totally reminded me of childhood, and I was like. I was hoping that we were gonna see enough Pokemon. That was one of my fears. Was like, I hope they don't just stick to just like, you know, keep showing the same ones. Like
Pikachu
hopefully
and Psyduck, and that's all you
yeah,
get.
and that's it. But it's like, you know, obviously they showed like a lot of Bulbasaurs and Squirtles and Charmanders, and like those are like the first ones, you know, and Pikachu obviously, and then but we got a plethora of different ones, and we got some second generation ones, which some
multiple
of them
generations,
which some of them there were a couple I didn't know, but I knew more than I didn't know, and so yeah, that's why it was just a sense of like childhood and just remembering, even like some of them I'd go, oh my God, what was their name again? I remember that name. And then, you know, or, oh yeah, I forgot that like Jigglypuff singing to that guy who fell asleep in the bar. Yeah. Like I forgot that was one of his powers, was to like put people to sleep. So it was really fun to watch it and remember all the different Pokemon and all their powers and all their names even.
Okay, that's good. Just mention to everyone listening, this is a spoiler discussion, so we're about to get into the good parts of it. But I think what I was enjoying out of watching this, I think it was seeing the Pokemon for the first time in this way, and then encountering the Pokemon in the way that they just like put them out there. Like it wasn't like, you know, you knew how everyone was going to look prior to the movie. You kind of had that like, I wonder how they're going to make this character look. And like the one that comes to mind was Trico, who was like the lizard that was in the window when Tim, who is Justice Smith, goes into like the hotel before he meets Pikachu, and you have the Pokemon that's on the window, just like any like gecko or, you know, lizard would be. So things like that I thought like was a really nice touch to kind of just, you know, put him in a natural environment, how they would be, and also how they looked. So to me, I thought that was the thrill of the movie, like seeing what Pokemon were going to appear and how were they going to look, and, you know, what format were they going to be in. Because the idea in this movie is that this city is unlike like the way this world works in Pokemon, where you go capture them. Here they live together. It's like
they coexist.
It's like a pet, more so like a pet, with the pet being able to live freely as well.
Yeah, it's like it's basically like they have rights. Like they're just like, they're not wild animals that are to be captured. They just you know, they let them roam free.
Yes, I mean you can partner with one, and you know that's gonna be your Pokemon to go. But yeah, it's not like you throw a Pokeball. But yeah, so with that being said, I think that was what really worked in this movie, was you being able to explore which Pokemon you were going to see. I know some of them they kind of highlighted before, and it's in promotions and posters, but I think it was pretty cool to still see some surprises. Like the one that got surprised to me was Gengar. I didn't think they were going to do Gengar, and when he was battling Blastoid, I thought that was pretty cool to kind of just have that. One, it was a reference to the first video games that was the introduction with the two of them battling. But yeah, so things like that I think was really what was exciting watching the movie. In addition to Pikachu, I think Pikachu really, Ryan Reynolds, you know what you're getting from him, but I think seeing Pikachu that looks well done helps. Like it makes you really enjoy the ride rather than just be like, I'm just here to see Pokemon. You kind of appreciate Pikachu's story and the story arc that's going on in the movie. To the mystery, I would say to some degree, maybe there's some interest. I don't know if it was like the best mystery ever. I know some people were just like, I saw it coming a mile away. Some of them, were just like, there were some things I thought it was going to be about, like, his dad related and stuff like that. So it wasn't the like biggest mystery ever in a movie, but
no, yeah, I think
it was a good mystery for a family film.
And for to have a large part of the audience be so young, I think it was appropriate,
Yeah, I think in the trades, I think they said like the highest percentage was under 25. So for sure, this was like their summer movie.
And I did too think, I'm not gonna lie, because it was Ryan Reynolds, I was expecting a little more, I guess, potty humor. I guess a little more Deadpool. But it makes sense that they could only go so far because they were trying to appeal to the family, as a whole. So it made sense that they were gonna try to keep things pretty PG. But yeah, it was just an expectation. It's not like it disappointed me or anything. I thought the humor was gonna be a little more grown up.
I could see that.
And it had its moments. It had moments here or there, but it also had it was just, I think it was a well-rounded family film. I mean, like that's what it is. And
I like no point where I was like, ooh, maybe I should have brought my kid.
I
don't have one.
Well,
But
yeah. you got something you want to tell me? Because at no point was I like, oh my God, there's a kid here. There's a kid sitting right there. Like,
Yeah.
Like I feel like it's like when we saw Deadpool and I saw like little kids and I was like, oh, it was uncomfortable. I'm like, I don't know if you should be in here. But this one, it wasn't like that.
For sure. So one of the things that I think you probably where you came with optimism was that overall, I think it was a story that works. You saw like a good balance of Pokemon, and you kind of got a sense that maybe a franchise can work. I don't know in the franchise of sense of like every movie needs to be a detective movie or every movie needs to be, that kind of driven storyline. Like I could see a movie that's still Pokemon related, but maybe it can be a little bit different. Like maybe more it's about finding a legendary. I think that's something that would work out. Mm-hmm. But is that why you say sense of optimism? Just because the story worked well and it surprised you, that kind of stuff? So you have hope for like a franchise?
I had the reason I said optimism was because I did like it more so than I thought it was, and I was like maybe this film will be like one that I would love to revisit again and watch again, and then also in relation to the plot and the character, specifically Tim, who was trying to figure out what happened to his he was trying to basically figure out if his dad was still alive or not. And I know that they kind of set it up that he had an estranged relationship with his father. So I was hoping that by the end of the film, there would be some either closure or reconciliation or reunion of them.
I see. Okay.
I don't know why I'm stuttering so much.
You're overwhelmed.
I know. But yeah. And you do see things happening and coming, and you do piece. You can kind of, at least for, I think like us, like we were able to piece some things together, not to like jump to the end, but I kind of figured how it wrapped up, how, with Pikachu and everything, I figured that was going to happen. So I was optimistic that there was going to be some reunification between Tim and his father.
I see.
So that's probably the biggest reason why I said optimistic.
So the story had a good positive.
Yeah, and there was a really emotional moment when he was, talking to Pikachu and he was talking about the relationship with his dad, and he was getting really emotional, and it made me. That's where the emotional came in because that scene was like touched me, and it was nice, and then too he was like. He told Pikachu, I haven't really been that nice to you, have I? And, it was just kind of like him acknowledging how maybe impatient and difficult and mean he was being to Pikachu. So that was just a scene that really worked for me. You got me emotional.
I think for myself, I enjoyed the positive message, but it definitely had it left me with more questions for the sake of the franchise. I know a movie doesn't necessarily always think of sequels and stuff, but it shouldn't at the very least. It needs to focus on the first movie before it jumps off to sequels. But it did kind of have that. It was a great one story, but does that mean we're not going to stay with these characters? Are we going to jump to a whole different set of characters? I can see that work and not work at the same time. So it does leave more open questions that's kind of just like not related to the movie, but it does have that. It's in a positive way. It's not like where you completely walk away with this movie and you're just like, yeah, they shouldn't do a sequel, or like this, it just wasn't work. It didn't make sense or whatever. Like there was no bad. Well, there was things that probably as a Pokemon fan wanted, but I don't think there was anything bad that this movie really like decided to go with and missed out or struck out. I feel like a lot of the choices that they made were on the safe side, but managed to still make it work. So I think that's why I get that sense of hope in that, like, maybe they can find a way to continue making more movies. It's just tough because at this point, Pokemon is kind of like secondary. It's never going to be, you can never have a Pokemon movie with just Pokemon being the main characters for various reasons, mainly because they don't talk like humans. So you don't get that common dialogue. You don't get those arcs and those emotions. They'll get times where another Pokemon can die and you might cry, but I don't know. I feel like they have to always have a human side of it, but I think this worked. This movie worked to show you that it can continue. Like, it can be something that can be done. How long and how far you can go, I don't know, but it definitely did. It managed to hit a lot of positive notes more so than the bad, and the bad are more just, I think, for most people, personal wishes. Like, I personally wish there was one big battle. Like, I wish Mewtwo and Pikachu did fight just a little bit more, like an actual like Pokemon fight, not
like in an arena style.
Yeah,
type of fight.
not
just like
I'm trying to stop Mewtwo from destroying people or whatever.
Right, and it really wasn't even Mewtwo. It was
mind controlled. Yeah,
mm-hmm.
And I mean, even that whole merging with Pokemon kind of arc. I don't know if that maybe was a potential like way to go about it, but I feel like once they revealed that the dad was within Pikachu, like they merged by Mewtwo, I feel like at that point that was just like, oh, so this isn't anything special about Pikachu. This is just a situation where a human and a Pokemon combined.
So I want to know where, since Mewtwo did, since you brought it up, and Mewtwo did put Ryan Reynolds' soul into Pikachu, where was Ryan Reynolds' body this whole time?
It was within Pikachu.
His body, his physical body, like where was it?
It was within Pikachu. I'm just giving you the
wasn't.
Pokemon. That's just the Pokemon.
I need answers. Like, was it just
I
laying in the field? Did Mew like move it? Did he like transfer it somewhere? Like put it on ice?
I don't think you're gonna get a realist answer. So if that's your realist takeaway, is that?
I was just curious.
I'm only assuming, and I mean, you gotta have just a little bit of a flexible.
You got to be able to just look past some things.
Just because if Pokemon exist here and they can fit into a Pokeball, I'm assuming that Mewtwo put like the same kind of spirit thing or whatever that the Pokemon go through to get into the Pokeball that it went inside Pikachu. I'm just saying,
Okay.
if you're willing to believe that a Pokemon fits in the Pokeball, I think a person becoming inside a Pokemon.
I mean, but I've always believed, I've always known that ever since I was like 8 years old that a Pokemon can fit in the Pokeball. So it's like that was just something I just have always accepted.
I was like, just take that concept and then just put a human can then go inside a Pokemon.
Okay. I'll try.
I'm not saying that's a satisfying reason, but I'm just
I got yeah.
That's the best thing I can. That's the best answer I can get for you.
Okay.
Not that I worked on the movie, but that's the best answer.
Yeah, I know you're like speaking on behalf of the film. Like, okay.
So the things that I felt like were, I wouldn't say problematic about the movie, but I would say the movie did take its time developing the story, and I feel like that was okay if the story was a little more Pokemon centric. I think they did show a lot of cameos. I think that's the difference between what this movie had. This movie had a lot of Pokemon cameos, but it wasn't Pokemon variety in the story.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's probably where it hurts it a little bit. Not to say, again, this is like it made the movie bad or it was a bad movie because of this, but I feel like Psyduck and Pikachu got the spotlight.
Yeah.
Deservingly so. But like Charizard, a big popular favorite, gets only one scene, and then after that, that's it.
Yeah.
And I feel like more Pokemon should have had that kind of spotlight. Like I felt like more Pokemon should have been able to have to encounter, Tim and Pikachu to move the story along. And they did to some degree to some Pokemon, but very small amounts.
Mr. Mime got a scene.
Mr. Mime got a scene, yeah.
All the Bulbasaurs had a scene.
But they were very, very minor things about them, and I feel like they should have had a bigger role. Like Mewtwo.
I mean, it is called Detective Pikachu, so I guess it's like they kind of tied themselves to being only able to really focus on Pikachu. Had to be the main focus,
I think what worked to me was Ditto. I thought Ditto worked in that sense because he served a plot to the story.
Mm-hmm.
I think there was another Pokemon that served. Mewtwo in itself, I think Mewtwo, they did that whole, he's an important Pokemon, but we're going to save him from later, and then you get him, but he's only limited time because he's mind controlled. It wasn't like actually Mewtwo. So, I mean, it did well in the cameos. I just felt like it could have, I felt like the story could have been more involved with the Pokemon. Like, maybe Pikachu had to go, fight Arcanine from the police force because the police force have evidence of what happened that night or something.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I feel like that would have been a little bit better for a Pokemon standpoint. But that's just me. Was there anything that you felt this movie didn't have or could have made it better?
I mean, I think obviously the whole like the battles,
battles
was something that I was expecting that we didn't really get. So that was, you know, it was what it was.
And you got only one scene of the Pokeball too in the beginning.
Yeah, and then in the beginning when he tried to actually capture a Pokemon, you know, I thought we were gonna have more of that too, like more, you know, kind of him trying to, or not him necessarily, but somebody like watching, you know, these young aspiring Pokemon trainers trying to capture more Pokemon, more wild Pokemon, and it kind of shifted into this city where a little different than what I was expecting it to be. Not that it was a bad thing. It just I guess I was expecting a lot more like the show, like, you know, aspiring Pokemon trainer trying to capture these Pokemon. I know it was called Detective Pikachu, and that was, you know, there was this story of, you know, Pikachu and Tim teaming up to find someone. I got it, but I guess
that's in the same way that Ash and Pikachu team up to become a Pokemon master. Mm-hmm. Like it's still, it works. It can work the same way. The main reason, to me, the main reason why it was called Detective Pikachu was because Pikachu was going to be the main Pokemon, which of course makes total sense. So, yeah. I felt like that would have been nice. I thought the friendship. I liked that the friendship with the reporter that he met and kind of connected with. It didn't become a forced relationship. It kind of was like we need to solve this together. We're both in the same like mindset of what's going on,
trying to figure out what happened.
Yeah, so I thought that was nice that it didn't become like a therefore I like you. It was like a
it was pretty platonic.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't know what happened afterwards when she's like, "I'll meet you later tonight," but but you know, but yeah, for the
movie
for the majority of the story, it was just like a platonic partnership of them, you know, teaming up to reach this one common goal. So that was nice. Yeah. Because obviously, usually they tend to romanticize any relationship between a man and a woman.
Yeah.
But yeah, and obviously Psyduck was like, oh my God, scene stealer. Like just so great. Loved him. Loved his presence. Loved his voice. It was great. And Pikachu interacting and talking to him as Ryan Reynolds, talking to Psyduck was funny.
I mean, I really think the movie deserves a lot of credit for making these Pokemon work. They're realistic, but at the same time not too realistic, and they still have their personalities and everything that what you loved in maybe like the original series when you played the game or watched the show. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's what really deserves credit, because this movie, a lot of time with video game adaptations, they try to take something from it and then make it its own thing. So you've probably seen those like what if Pokemon were real photos, and like sometimes some of them look disgusting,
nasty,
some of them like
creepy,
disturbing.
Yeah.
So I think that's what this movie did well. I mean, yes, you didn't look at it and be like that Bulbasaur and Pikachu looks like they really could exist. Pikachu looks more like a plush still in that way, an adorable plush. But
speaking of what if they were real, this is going off track here, but did you see those photos of like what if the characters from SpongeBob were real?
Oh my gosh, no.
Oh my God, it's so disturbing. Squidward is disgusting looking. Like he looks monstrous.
I need to see this.
And then I feel like there was another one. I think it was like Barnacle Boy or someone. Like it was bad. That it was nightmarish. But yeah, I'm glad that the Pokemon didn't look like that, like nightmarish and scary. Although I will say, and I said this in the theater while we were watching it, that Mewtwo did look scary to me. He looked very intimidating because he's such a large Pokemon, and just his shape and build, like he looks. Ew. Is that SpongeBob?
That was SpongeBob.
That was horrible. He looks very intimidating because he has, very large in stature and he already has a menacing look on his face, and he did frighten me a bit, and just the whole everything, the way he can levitate and just fly, and it's kind of freaked me out a bit.
They didn't really show the bigger Pokemon in this movie. A lot of them were
I didn't see an Onix.
Yeah.
Like the biggest one we saw was like
Torterra, which was a creature that practically has like an island on its back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that was the largest one, which was even that whole scene was like at first I didn't know what because I didn't know that Pokemon like.
Oh, that was so
I didn't know what was going on at first, but then it made sense, because they were just like they saw little or smaller versions of them prior to going out into the field. But I was like, dang, these things are like, that's insane.
That's how I mean, I think that one, I don't know if that one was some of the genetics or science like modifications they were testing.
I think so, yeah.
But I mean, because from what I remember, they never mentioned about like they become a whole island themselves. I feel like that's a lot. That's doing a lot.
Yeah.
But yeah, there was no Onix. There was Gyarados for like a quick second.
Yeah, there was. That was cool. That Magikarp was pretty big too. Like I thought it was gonna be a smaller. Like in the show, it looks like a smaller. Not like it fits in your hand, but like I don't know, like the size of just like catching a large fish. But it was like a big fish flopping on the ground, like a little freaking
using Splash.
Yeah, it was. But yeah, that was cool to see him. And that was another thing. My prayer was that we would see a good amount of evolutions.
We saw, I think, 2.
We saw 2. We saw Eevee evolve into Jolteon.
Flareon.
Was it Flareon?
Yeah, it was the fire one.
Oh, okay. Flareon, sorry, and then we saw Magikarp evolve into Gyarados. Yeah. So that was cool. I wish we could have seen more. And I told you because you were like, what's your favorite Pokemon? What do you? And I was like, well, I don't know if he's my favorite, but I really like Eevee, and I like that he can evolve into 3 different things, and I really hope that I see him evolve. And I did, but now I'm being spoiled, and I'm like, I wish he would have evolved into Vaporeon.
Oh my god!
Because Flareon and Eevee in this movie, they looked too similar. Like in the animated version, they looked more different, distinguishable from one another. In this film, he just looked Eevee. He just looked like
a bigger
Eevee. So I was like, I would have rather them had gone with Jolteon or Vaporeon.
I can see that.
But, beggars can't be choosers, and I got to see one of my favorites, so I'll shut up.
I didn't get my favorite. Let me just point that out.
Yeah, I know. Maybe you did. Maybe you just missed him.
No, he was not in it.
Because you didn't see Togepi either.
True.
There were a lot of cameos.
Scizor isn't that small of a Pokemon. Scizor is tall. He's a tall Pokemon. I mean, he wasn't front and center where it was clear he was in the movie. That's why this movie is getting not a 5 because it didn't have Scizor.
Oh my gosh.
I'm just gonna be real right now. But yeah, so any other particular highlights that you stood out that maybe you want to give a quick shout out to? Crickets. Nope. Okay.
I mean, are you asking like what one of my favorite scenes was, or
maybe
is
like a good joke that you liked that Ryan?
I mean, obviously they were in the trailer, but the 2 jokes that were in the trailer, I think I still laughed like I hadn't seen them. The whole coffee bit of Tim saying like this is an addiction, like these are just choices. And when he was ordering the coffee from that one Pokemon at the bar,
Ludicolo, yeah.
Yeah, when he was like, "Give me black coffee, black as night, dear, thanks." And that was hilarious. And then him trying to, when he was facing against the Charizard in the cage, and he couldn't use his powers. He didn't know how to use his powers, so he was like, "I can't do it when people are watching." I thought that was hilarious because speaking from someone who does get pee shy in public bathrooms, I know exactly what he was feeling, and he was like, "Can you all just look away for a bit?" Like that was so funny to me. It's just from the first time I saw that, I thought it was hilarious, and it still was really funny. So that was probably 2.
I think to me, the part that I enjoyed the most. Oh, I want to say the most. I take that back. But
and sorry, just throwing this out here. Mr. Mime was a super fun, probably my favorite scene. Probably like so funny and so fun, and because we were getting to we were watching him. You do what he does, like uses powers not uses powers, but like he mimes, So right. It's like and then to see Tim kind of like try to use that against him in one of the scenes to try to question him was really super entertaining to watch.
I think the end of that scene was very disturbing but hilarious when he accidentally drops the fake fake match. It's just, did you just kill a Pokemon in that case?
Right.
Yeah. But no, to me, I think the scene that I enjoyed the most, I think it's a little combination. I did enjoy Pikachu singing the theme song in a depressed state, but I enjoyed that. And when he made that discovery, and then when he got back to the city, and like the Mewtwo was going on, he was like, okay, maybe my news is not as big anymore. I thought that was a very well sequenced for Pikachu. And then I it worked, and I think that's why I'm giving it credit to, was when Ditto was fighting Tim, just because you got to see like a lot of Ditto transforming to different Pokemon you've seen in the movie already, nothing new, and then it turned to humans and it had those eyes, and that's just in itself was creepy. So I thought that worked well.
Yeah, that was pretty freaky.
And then Pikachu giving Psyduck a foot massage. I mean, that's just, where else are you gonna get that? You know, I'm never gonna see in a car seat. I think that was probably more adorable, was that it was in a car seat. But yeah, no, I mean, I think a lot of Pikachu moments was just because it looked very well, and you couldn't help but be like, "Aw, you're adorable."
Yeah, he was. He definitely was.
I can understand why that was made in the movie. But yeah, so with that being said, Donnie, give us your real score for Pokemon Detective Pikachu.
I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5. I thought it was a very well done family film. I think that obviously the audience in our age group really had fun. Like kind of, if you haven't been playing Pokemon Go or you don't play the video games anymore, it was like a nice walk down memory lane, and just to see all the, all these Pokemon that you used to love and adore as a child, and used to try to collect, collecting all the cards and playing battling people like with cards and stuff like that was just fun to revisit. I wish it had a little more sense of like people trying to capture Pokemon. Hopefully animal rights groups don't come after me for saying that. But, that's what it was in the game. And so I would have liked to have seen that. And I was praying that I know we got the theme song kind of twice. We got the music playing in the background as announcers were speaking over it. And then we got Pikachu singing the actual lyrics in like you were saying, a depressing state. But come on, I wanted to hear, we all wanted to hear the original. Like not one fan, I'm sure, went into the theater going, God, I hope they don't play the original theme song. Like everybody would have loved that. So I was like, just give it to us somewhere. Give it to us at the end credits, or open us up with it or something. But didn't really happen. So, but it's fine. It is what it is. And I wish I think I was content with the amount of Pokemon we got. It would have been nice to see more interactions and not just short little cameos. But like I said, I figured they were gonna have to just focus solely on Tim and Pikachu trying to crack this case. So I was content with that. But I think it was a really good film. I guess my expectations were just a little different from what it was going to be, but I'm not disappointed by what we got. So I was happy with it. It wasn't a perfect film, but I think it was a nice, wholesome, fun film for the entire family to enjoy. And I give it a 4 out of 5.
Okay. I'm going to be right there with you. I am going to give it a 4 out of 5 as well. I think it works on many levels that you talked about. I think the biggest thing that it deserves as an achievement is being able to take the adaptation, respecting the material, but still making something enjoyable and I wouldn't say different, but making something that isn't just like you can go play this in the game. I think that's probably what worked here as well, is a lot of times video game adaptations try to replicate the story that you played in the movie, like in the game. And so then you have issues because then you're just like, well, they didn't do this, or, blah, blah, blah. And I would just rather go play the game rather than watch the movie of it. And this one kind of takes what you love about Pokemon and just takes a new way to introduce it to the movies. And I would hope that moving forward, then they would become a little bit more of like capturing Pokemon or training and battling, like those kinds of things. I would hope become a natural progress. But I think it does manage to work well where it still respects the material. Like you still see Pokemon, battling to some degree, not as much or not as long. Oh my gosh.
Bless me.
What Pokemon was that?
Man. That was the Sneasar.
Okay. And I think the humor works for a family level, and I think it still was acceptable for, the Pokemon franchise to have that kind of humor. Nothing went over the top. Nothing went where it was like, whoa, Pokemon, you're letting, these jokes get by to kids. Good marketing for the games, like, you know. I think it still worked and may have hit some nerves for some people to go be like, maybe I do want to go play one more time.
I'm sure.
Let me open up Pokemon
I'm sure
Go
that
one more
app
time.
is getting a lot of usage right now.
Yeah, so I think that's pretty cool, and it worked as well. So a lot of good things. The things that didn't work well were, as I mentioned, I think the missed opportunities to highlight more Pokemon, I think was one thing. The cameos are awesome, and I think that it makes it more enjoyable, but ultimately when you just see the Pokemon not going to have any big part of the story, I think that kind of hinders it a little bit. I think the story was a good story, was a good mystery. I don't think that failed, but I do think that the mystery was also an opportunity to kind of make you want to explore more, and I think this movie kind of left you more with, I think I got enough, and I think that could be a potential bad thing where you'd be like, you know what, I think I got enough Pokemon. I don't think I need to know more about this world, and I think that would have been nice. Like they hinted a little bit at Mew, but it would have been nice if they would have felt like maybe they need to find Mew or something that would have expanded the mystery. Mm-hmm. Case closed on the dad and Pikachu situation, but more to discover. I think that would have been nice as well. So that story element, I think, is where it may have been one bad choice, if anything. But ultimately, yes, enjoyable. I think I can see this on digital many times. Just watching, the best scenes, the cool cameos from Pokemon. I thought it worked well, and the design looks great. A lot more positives than negatives, which is always a good thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, 4 out of 5 I think is going to be where I'm at with this movie, and I do hope we get sequels. I believe there is development going on for the sequel already before the movie even got box office numbers. So hopefully that's still on track. We shall see.
Yeah.
But listeners, let us know what you think about this movie. If you had a chance to see Detective Pikachu, or are you still watching Avengers Endgame? Clearly, because the box office says otherwise. Yes, you can find us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Team Reel-ists. That's Team REELISTS, no dash. And then if you can as well, if you enjoyed this episode so much, please leave us a review on iTunes, on the Apple Podcast section, and let us know what you thought about our show and our episode overall. And you can also comment on our YouTube videos that we put of the episode. So hopefully you enjoyed this episode today, and until next time, everyone.